Welcome to Geek Nerd Tech on Black Hollywood Live. Today, Facebook's making some big changes. Samsung embraces virtual reality, and X-Men Apocalypse is here.
You are tuned in to Black Hollywood Live's Geek Nerd Tech.
Welcome to Geek Nerd Tech, the show we break down tech news and nerd culture from a black and brown geek perspective.
Yes, sir.
I'm Joe Braswell, joined as always by my man Achilles Shine.
What's good, man?
How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm well.
Alright.
Glad that we are in the hot season, man. It is here.
It's kind of hot.
The wave has come in, man.
It's kind of hot. We got Common and Nas. I don't know who. I think in this scenario, I guess I gotta be Common.
I'm C. Well, what do you mean? You're just saying you have to choose between Common and
right
Nas?
now, you and me, out of the two of us, which one's Common, which one's Nas? See? Like, I don't even know. I feel like you're both Common and Nas, but I guess I have to be, in this particular thing, I gotta be more Common.
Okay.
Just because I feel like you're I think Nas has got the better skill set.
Okay. Well, thank you.
So, but Common's better looking anyway. But I was kidding. What a Geek Nerd Tech. We have a lot to talk about, a lot to go through. Some news, Facebook news, and some new search engines to talk about, as well as some nerd stuff. I saw X-Men Apocalypse. So I want to talk about that. First, Facebook is finally, in response to all the pressure from the right, is making some changes to his to their trending topics, responding to conservatives' complaints. And they're doing that. They went in and sort of done a lot of things to change their algorithm. To make it so that, let me just first set up that there's been complaints we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, complaints by a lot of conservative that Facebook, the news feed, the feed is catering towards more liberal topics, liberal news, like suppressing all the conservative news that comes up. So all the trending topics. So what they've done is throughout their old algorithm, they've changed some things up. They threw out the pool of news they get their stuff from and changed those things up and really went to a far long way to address this.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly it. I think the volume of the criticism reached a certain height where they had to address it. They had to speak to it, and so I think they're going to re-engineer the algorithm so that it's maybe even not an algorithm. Maybe it has more of a human touch or human curation versus it just being something that is mechanical or programmed. So yeah, I think doing that it provides and allows more fairness and more. Just oversight in terms of what stories actually are trending, and I think how they have it designed, prior to this criticism was well. But that's a good thing of criticism. It helps propel you for more innovation, and so I think this will be a good thing for Facebook and a good thing for the 1.6 billion users, to be able to have at their fingertips the hottest stories. So.
Now, there's a flip side to this. I guess it makes more sense. I mean, before they would take from a pool of about 1,000 sources, and now they've thrown all those 1,000 out, and they go down to 10 curated special sources, which enables them to sort of control things more, and then this algorithm also you add more human touch. But I mean, I guess that it is in a way to go from 1,000 sources to 10 in its own way seems a little bit like it's not censorship but controlling the narrative a little bit. But I guess you have to do what you have to do.
Yeah, I think narrowing it down, it maybe disallows for mistakes or disallows for a swing to the right or a swing to the left. Like you have a more centralized force that could be able to communicate or disseminate the proper information.
Right. Makes sense.
But I mean, I throw it to you in the sense that do you think, I mean, we kind of talked about this last time, that Facebook has so many users, so many eyeballs, the audience is so expansive. Do they have to have this responsibility that a typical news organization would have? Or should they be like, put their flag in the ground, hey, we're going to do what we want to do?
Well, this is why this is an interesting question, because this is Facebook why this is so important to Facebook is they're kind of drawing their line in the sand as either we're a social network and we do things over here, or we are a content network that has to adhere almost a broadcast. Obviously, it doesn't adhere to the same standards that broadcast networks do. I mean, Facebook is on their way to being a studio, on their way to being like the next NBC Universal or Comcast Universal or Time Warner or Viacom. So that's where Facebook is headed. So they're thinking a lot. They're thinking they have to abide by those rules as rather to abide by just the social network rules. So
but you got to answer, why do they have to abide by those rules?
Well,
why?
Because they're positioning themselves to be much more than just a social network, and they're already there now with their billions and billions of users and their billions of monthly views and the way people use Messenger and the way people use all their services, including Instagram. So what they're doing is they're positioning themselves as something bigger than just a social network. So they are saying, like, we will take on the responsibility to make sure that this is fair and balanced and equal, because we want to have the trust of the public, when we ask for even bigger responsibilities in the media. And we need the trust of the public when we take over the world. No. But yeah, so they have to do that. Otherwise, they could go the other way, like, hey man, we're just a social network. It's not our fault. We're just billion users doing that. They're actually recognizing that the power of these billions of users, like, it is real power, like Uncle Ben said, Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. So I think that's why they're doing it. They're trying to position themselves differently. What do you think?
I mean, I definitely agree with that. I think when you juxtapose them to a network or a studio, in terms of their audience reachability, they've already surpassed that 1.6 billion. I don't think there's any there's any network or organization that has that many members.
Not even all of them put together.
Exactly. So, I mean, with that being said, they could theoretically swing an election. They could theoretically swing the vote on a particular issue. Like, they could create messaging that could spark a revolution. Like,
they have, though. They already have. Like, right. in the Arab Spring, like, they have, and like, this is the thing between Twitter and Facebook, they have started revolution. They have toppled governments already. So, or been a tool to do that.
A tool, yeah.
So
I wouldn't say they have done that.
They have, Mark Zuckerberg's not pushing buttons like a big Stratego board or risk board, but like that's a tool. So yeah, I mean that's powerful. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, with power does come responsibility, and yeah, you want to make sure that you are being fair and equal, so that all voices have the same opportunity and access to be able to be heard and received. And I think if it were any discussion, aside from politics or whatever, I think you would want it to have that same balance and fairness. So I think it's good that they're addressing the criticism and taking this approach to be able to innovate and build more infrastructure to what Facebook, promotes. So
okay, that makes sense. What else? So we'll keep our eye on that, and we'll see how that progresses. But it's an interesting story that seems to go beyond like just Facebook checking out their feed. It speaks to larger questions that we talked about. Speaking of that, moving on, I want to talk about this new search engine that's come out. That is sort of like, maybe I don't want to call it the Google killer, but
definitely not.
I don't know what. Nothing's really the Google killer. I don't know. It's because Google is definitely too big to fail or too big to crash, I think. But it's just called Omnity. It's a new search engine, and it's really directed specifically at research and researchers, students, law students, otherwise. And this is kind of speaks to a new trend, which are these sort of really like niche, specialized search engines.
Yep.
So that Google's already kind of like, they're already like working with that already. So they're already working on things. You can do stuff for flights or specialized search engines for gifts and things like that. But what this does is, if you're researching something and say you want to do a report on Abraham Lincoln or something like this, like, it'll find every relevant article, it basically prepares a research document for you in the form of a search. So it enables you to really go through and cherry pick and have all this information at your fingertips, which Google does already, but this does it in a very specific way. And even more so on a more advanced level for med students or law students, when you're combing through like law, tons and tons of law books or tons and tons of cases, or med students and scientists. I mean, this is for research. This could be incredible.
Yeah, definitely incredible. Definitely specifically targeted for academics and researchers. But what makes this search tool very unique is that you're able to do a deeper keyword search. So if you wanted to put actually a document into the search engine, it will scan the document and it will isolate all the words that don't really mean anything or have no have no meaning to the piece, like the and or. And it will highlight the keywords. To highlight all the words that could have additional research that it could pull from. So what it will do, it will pull those keywords, and then it will isolate different articles for you to actually have more information to search for. And I think that's kind of cool. It speeds up stuff. It brings the top research right to the forefront. Like, so I think for a student who's doing that paper, who's trying to like make a breakthrough with his thesis or his theory, like it just provides him more of a expedient and quicker way to get access to that information.
Right.
I think that's kind of cool.
And
I would not say that it's a Google killer. I think that's a bit much.
Yeah, it's I mean, Google's so ubiquitous that's possible, but it also speaks to, you know, how this stuff gets applied to the bot and AI technology. Like in my mind, like in a minute, you'll be able to have, you know, Siri, prepare my research on whatever, and then there's a research packet. I mean, you know, in some facets of jobs that I've done in production and shows and whatnot, I mean, that used to be whole pre-Google. I'm dating myself here, but that was whole departments.
Yeah.
You know, whole departments at a show like Extra or whatever, or any news organization. The whole department that just did research.
Yeah.
And then Google came, and that whole department shrunk to about 5 or 6 kids. You know.
Yeah.
And then now it's probably like, you know, one PA on an iPhone or something now. But like the point is the whole notion of being like, prepare the research on so and so, and all the clips and all the research comes out. I think we're that technology is here.
It's definitely here, and it also speaks to our dependency on it. Like, search is everywhere. Search is not just, you know, in our computers. It's obviously on our phones and tablets, but now it's moving into our homes. It's moving into our cars. It's moving into all the things that we have integration with. And I think that part is what's really interesting in terms of how it's going to shift society and shift culture, is that we'll have so many options to be able to get information from the different tools that are around us that we've never thought of before. And like, maybe down the line there will be a Google killer, you know? So,
well, yeah, it probably won't be like, we're always going to have to search, but I guess it's the methodology in which we do that search and how we receive that information. But it seems like Google is always so
ahead of the game.
2 steps ahead of what we like. They're already doing the thing that we don't know we need yet. So they would have to really slip, or someone would really have to come and really disrupt. Which there was this. I listened to this pod. I can't remember my man's name, but was talking about the next disruptive technology and what's happening and how a lot of these things are sort of flattening out now. And the next area that he's talking about is this whole, basically, the ability for the AI and the drones and the robotics. This is the next generation of things. They're like, I guess apparently Google now. That just made public their platform to be able to write AI for drones and cars and everything else. Like Google made that public. So now there's guys who are actually, there's a guy who just built his own from scratch driving car, like self-driving car. Mm-hmm. There's guys who out there now are doing like drone technology with using software that's available to anyone. Yeah. And what he was saying is that it's incredible how, you know, 10 years ago, this was tens of millions of dollars in a grant, you know, to be able to get this. Like 5 years ago, it was a rumor of secret researchers. 3 years ago, it was a team at Google, and now this year, it's a guy down the street doing his garage.
And next year, you'll be able to buy it in Walmart. You know what I'm saying? So,
but the idea of that, but the idea that you and I and a bunch of other people can just open source, like if we wanted to, the next generation of kids can make their own versions of flying drones and flying cars that they do, that you can go buy a kit at Radio Shack. Yeah, that's incredible.
It's definitely incredible. I mean, I think when you talk about the age of robotics or AI, like we're definitely, when we talk about the original theory, technological singularity, we're definitely in the window of time. Like, according to the science fiction theory, like we're supposed to have reached by 2025 a time where the technology is autonomous, and we're close to it. That's, you know, less than 10 years away. And I mean, think about 10 years ago, we didn't even have a Facebook. We didn't even have these things. So 10 years from now, who knows what our society is going to look like and what the technology is going to be able to do. Like, I believe that we will reach that point at 2025 where we will be talking. We'll have on our show as a guest an artificial intelligence being.
Yeah, I mean, well, Watson. So Watson, what do you got coming up this year? Like, yeah, it's crazy. Mark Andreessen's the guy. Mark Andreessen's the guy who's sort of considered the father, the modern father of the internet. He created Netscape, did that browser, and sold that for billions with a B. Then did something else and sold that with billions with a B. He sold multiple billion-dollar companies, and pretty much has his finger on the pulse. He's one of those guys in the higher echelon, like Peter Thiel and him, and even Gates and those guys in terms of second level Silicon Valley innovators. And he had a lot to say. I'm just shouting it out because it's on the Tim Ferriss podcast. Want to check it out? The latest interview with Mark Andreessen. It's really, really fascinating in terms of where we think things are going, and it's incredible. Anyway, next, so there's that. Next, Apple. Speaking of that, of open sourcing things, Apple finally is going to open up Siri to its developers, which is we think is a big deal, because Siri right now, and in terms of AI and what AI and what it can do, is very limited, and Apple has a ton of crazy security protocols that inhibits Siri from doing the right thing. We know that original team that started and built Siri went off and did their own thing. I forget what it's called, like Lulu or something. I forget what she's called. But now it's open sourcing for developers to do stuff. That could be big, right?
Yeah, definitely big. It gives the opportunity to put the smartest and most advanced minds on it. And when you talk about having the opportunity to work with a company like Apple, you would want to have that integration. So I think, Siri right now is playing catch up. Like when you talk about the Amazon Echo, or you talk about the Google Home, or you talk about the other what am I trying to say? The other assistant apps that are out there. Siri is not in. I would say maybe not even in the top 5, or barely in the top 5. So they definitely need to innovate that and revamp that. And so I think keep making open source will provide them, like I said, the smartest, the wisest, the most innovative people to be able to do that. So
right. I'll be interested in that. I want to get like an Echo and a Siri, or a Cortana and Siri, and then be like, Siri, ask Echo, and have them talk to each other. But that's coming. That's coming soon. While this break, I want to just talk to you about The Last Star. It's it's this whole book series that we love here, and I want to read this. This is a read, so just bear with me a little bit. Keely, what if today was the last normal day of your life? Casey Sullivan thought she knew what tomorrow would bring, but she was strong. We were all strong. The first wave took our power, killing 500 million people. The second wave put that number to shame with tsunamis that destroyed everyone within 100 miles of the ocean. Goodbye, coastal cities. After the third wave, only the unlucky remain. Survivors of a virus that left only 3% of the world standing. In the fourth wave, others became us, inhuman beings hiding inside human faces. At the dawn of the fifth wave, we had to choose: give up, get up, or fight. But that was only the beginning. In these last days, Earth's remaining survivors will need to decide what's more important: saving ourselves or saving what makes us human. Rick Yancey's #1 New York Times best-selling novel, The Fifth Wave, introduces us to a group of young people struggling to survive in the aftermath of a catastrophic alien invasion. Its sequels, The Infinite Sea and the newly released The Last Star, follow them in a series of battles and betrayals as they fight the ultimate war between life and death, hope and despair, love and hate. Entertainment Weekly calls the series remarkable, not to be missed under any circumstances, and urges fans to just read it. USA Today hails it as a modern sci-fi masterpiece, and best-selling author of The Passage, Justin Cronin, raves in his New York Times best-selling review, calling The Fifth Wave wildly entertaining. This highly anticipated finale is here, and will leave readers stunned. So check this out. To learn more about the Fifth Wave series, go to fifthwavebooks.com. That's fifthwavebooks.com. You can check out the entire series and learn everything you need to know about it, including The Last Star and The Infinite Sea. That's all I got. Check that out. The Last Star. Good stuff. Okay. Moving forward, I want to talk to you about Samsung. We're in the NBA finals right now. We saw Golden State dispatch of Cleveland last night, but one thing Samsung's doing is they're using they're taking their Twitter users inside the series with 360-degree ads. We talked about this before, the sort of virtual reality version or virtual reality ads. And the NBA and Samsung have partnered up on this thing, and I think it's kind of cool. I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, definitely cool. But it's NBA, Samsung, and Twitter.
Oh, Twitter as well,
I
yes.
think the play on Twitter is great because it's giving them opportunity to create a revenue stream in terms of auxiliary content that they can go to a brand and be like, hey, we have this audience for you to use for you to be able to, you know, siphon your video content, and you can do it in a cool way. And so I think the technology play is dope. The social play is dope, especially around the NBA Finals, which is so high profile. You have the arguably the greatest athletes going head to head, LeBron James, Stephen Curry.
Yep.
And to be able to have this auxiliary content where you can see it 360 degrees. And I actually checked out the app. It's pretty, the link, it's pretty cool. Like where you're able to literally see them warming up, and you can move your phone 360 degrees and see the whole stadium. It's empty. Then you move on to the court and you see them shooting and doing layups, and you see the coaches on the side. Like it's pretty fascinating that we have that technology.
That is.
And I could just see that being applied to so many things, i.e. a concert. It could be a medical surgery happening. It could be, there's so many ways to apply it. And I think, man, like the possibilities and the potentiality of it is endless. But I think it's cool to do it with basketball and sports because you're already watching on your TV. Yeah. You already have your phone in your hand. Hey, I want to check out what's happening in the locker room during halftime or whatever, or pregame. Boop, and I can look and see. Yeah, that's fresh.
It is fresh, and it's really fresh to be able to use the accelerometer and the phone to be able to have that technology. Mm-hmm. Like that's, I mean, it just seems like a no-brainer in figuring that out. And I wonder if this is going to be applied at some point to. I'm always jumping ahead, but I wonder if it's going to be applied to your at-home experience. I mean, like, you know, you have these already, like, the Samsung curved TVs. I wonder if this will be ever a situation where you can, you know, maybe with your remote, like look to the left or look to the right or see some things, or how immersive will this get for the home experience? Because you're only so limited in what you're able to do with the VR experience.
But I don't know. I think I might disagree with that because it's all about the second screen. Most people are spending more time on the second screen, and so like they're trying to captivate that. Like if I'm gonna be on my phone while I'm watching a game, I should be on either the NBA app or I should be looking at NBA content. Yeah, and so that's kind of what the play is. You know what I'm saying?
I see. That makes sense. Because I'm always at least one screen, sometimes two screens while watching the game.
Right.
So the game's a primary screen. I'm at least with a laptop, sometimes a laptop and an iPad, you know, and I think that whether you're checking scores or reading some real-time tweets in real time while the game's going on or doing other things. What about the idea of, I mean, this is, I didn't just thought about this. You're watching the game, and then while you're watching the game, you can actually be looking at some other stuff on your second screen while checking real-time tweets and other play. So that's really, and talking about engagement, like how one company can engage you on all these platforms is really interesting. Yeah. Which is what it's all about. Speaking of engagement, the Rio Olympics are right around the corner, and if they're not, you know, moved or canceled due to the Zika, NBC, which NBC does not want to talk about that, there's so much money invested, but NBC is finally planning to broadcast and do some 4K and dynamic range stuff, and I think it's only for the opening ceremony, or is it just for?
It's for the opening and closing ceremony. Okay. But actually, it's a lot of it's going to be shot in 8K and scaled down to 4K. Which I think is great. I mean, we're definitely in the time where they should be offering us 4K content. You know, a lot of us have 4K TVs now. A lot of us went out and purchased the 4K TVs and are looking at old technology. So, but I think it speaks to the Olympics as a destination point for technology to emerge, and like very similar to the Super Bowl or even like the World Cup. We see a lot of different like social media plays and technological implementation built around, you know, sporting events. So I think Olympics is a perfect place for that to happen. And you want to see like the cultural elements that the Olympics is all about. Different countries coming together to compete, seeing all the different symbolic stuff in the best form. And so the best colors, the best sharpness, the best picture. And I think that's kind of cool to be able to have that as a choice, as an option. So yeah, I'm excited about it. I have a 4K TV. But I probably won't be watching it because I'll be at the Olympics.
Yes. we will be at the Olympics if hopefully not drinking any water, but not kidding now. Yeah, it would be there, and but I definitely will be recording that because I think that broadcast of that coverage and that broadcast of the opening ceremonies is always something that is spectacular, and that's something that's not to be missed, even though if we're lucky enough to be there in person. So, but what do you, I mean, speaking of that, I mean, like, how long do you think it'll take? It just always seems like by the time programmers and broadcasters catch up to the technology, by the time we all get to broadcasting things in 4K, 8K's here.
Well, 8K's already here in Japan for sure.
Right,
it's already there.
And some of those, like they even mentioned that, OBS and NHK are going to be doing some HK stuff. And just to be clear, HK is 16 times
8K.
I'm sorry, yeah, 8K is 16 times the resolution of regular HD. Yeah. So, I mean, in 2012 was the first. Was that? Well, I don't know what the first Olympics was. It 12? No, it wasn't 12.
The first Olympics where they did what, 4K?
No, yeah, no, I'm back to it. Was it
8?
04 or 08 when they did it with HD?
They definitely had it for Beijing for sure.
Okay, so I feel like 08 was the first HD one. I could be completely wrong. It could be 04. I could be completely wrong on that, but just seeing stuff in HD, seeing sports in HD, I remember with how much that changed the whole perspective of how you look at sports, especially specifically hockey, because you can follow the puck. Hockey on TV is terrible, but with HD, it was a whole new ball game. Football is a whole new ball game. Basketball is a whole new ball game. So
it's about the experience, man. You're giving the audience a different experience.
I'm really curious to see what happens in 4K and 8K, because I don't know if
it's going to look beautiful.
Yeah,
it's going to look amazing.
So, and obviously the one thing lends itself to that technology. Nothing lends itself to that than sports. Yeah, sports is the one thing that really is fantastic with that. Okay, I want to skip this next one and go to the dark side of the internet. This is more of a sort of a debate to me, and this is just sort of like talking about what happens. This is something we've been warned about for a long time, which is basically having your business in the street via all your social media platforms, and having it catch up to you with whether it's prospective jobs you're going to get or your current workplace that you're in right now, and what employers or should or shouldn't be allowed to do. I don't know. I just. This is just I'm curious about this because I think this is what we're talking about here. I'm curious about this because it speaks to where all of us living in a social world, how that affects what companies and prospective employers are able to utilize to be able to hire and fire people. And I don't know what the line is.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's a number of things to talk about when we discuss the dark side of the internet. One is the usage of it, especially between the ages of 18 and 30. Like we are almost like guinea pigs. My generation in particular is almost like a guinea pig generation and millennial generation in terms of the technology, because we were born with it. And we've been raised with it, from video games to the internet to computers to even how we work and we do stuff. And so the usage has been so high that it's caused a new form of addiction called internet addiction. It's not even something that has been considered as a true medical term yet, but it's a problem that people use it so much that it creates it creates a change in their brain, and almost to the point where they can't function without being connected to a device. And so that's kind of what the article was talking about, the dark ways of the internet, or dark ways of technology, because it's almost paralyzing, and it's mostly men. It's mostly paralyzing young men to being antisocial, and not really having a life, not having the ability to cook, do laundry. They just stuck on the internet. And they're seeing more and more cases of this where kids now, because they've been accustomed to using technology from 8 years old, now they're in their 20s. That's all they do. They just sit at home, play games, and they're on the internet. And it's destructive. And they even broke it down scientifically, how the different hormones are released in the brain, chemicals are released in the brain that make you in the pleasure centers that make you feel good because, hey, you got 100 likes on Facebook, or hey, you're winning a game, or it makes you feel like I'm accepted. But then when you step away from the technology, then you look into the real world, it brings about a depression. So it's unhealthy. And that's what they're saying. They're arguing that this is a problem almost parallel to alcoholism or any form of drug addiction. So
that's interesting. And so you, in the real world, you're not able to the things that would give you joy in the real world, that should give you joy, the small things to big things to small achievements, like doing something on your own, or whatever it is, don't register because you're hardwired to think in terms of likes and social acceptance, or how many kills you got on Call of Duty, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And how does that translate to the real world?
Yeah.
I mean, that is very, very scary. And then again, what does that mean for the place that we're going, which is even more
exactly.
immersion, like with the 3D, with the virtual reality world. I mean, that there's something to be said to that. This is like we're headed towards Wall-E, the Pixar movie, when everyone's sort of like fat, overweight, attached to screens. I mean, that doesn't seem unrealistic based on kind of what we got going on here.
I mean, definitely not unrealistic at all. I mean, you look at anything that you overconsume or it's oversaturated, it's going to have an addictive quality to it. If you do anything all the time, like, it's going to have an adverse effect on you. And so, yeah, we never look at our technology usage as something that has an adverse effect. But I remember as a kid, my dad would say, for every hour you watch TV or you play video games, you need to do 3 or 4 hours of studying or reading.
Right.
I don't know if that expectation is here with parenting in 2016. Like, in a way, like, parents throw the kid the iPad to quiet them. They throw the kid the iPhone so that they can have their own time to go do something else. Yeah. Like, I think that's destructive,
It could be. It is destructive. You see a lot of, like, in restaurants a lot, you'll see a lot of kids, basically have the iPhone propped up watching a movie,
right,
to keep them quiet in the restaurant. I mean, I would prefer that, if that happens, at least give them one of those, interactive games to have them learning if they must be, if they must be, if that's your thought. But the idea of keep the kid quiet by showing them a screen, I mean, we didn't have that. We had, like, someone was, like, shaking keys at my face or something. That's all I had. I had, like, some plastic keys. I don't know. So it's really interesting. We'll see. I think there's a lot of upside to the speed of learning that the kids are doing now with touch screens and phones. That
definitely an upside.
It's an upside,
but anything has to be balanced.
But there's also a dark side. So
yeah.
One last question at this point: like, at what point, not to get into a libertarian versus whatever argument on this, but at what point do you think, what responsibility do you think the government has in, like, sort of like being able to regulate what should or shouldn't be done, or how, or is that
it starts in the home, man. This is not a question of how the government should help regulate people's technology usage. It's a question of what mom and dad are doing in the home and with how they're allowing their kid to be instructed.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's plain and simple. Like, if they're looking at something all day long, they're not really living. They're not really living. So break that habit. And that's what these treatment centers are doing when you have the internet addiction or the technology addiction.
Yeah.
They take them to a home where there's no technology. Yeah. They go outside and they play.
Right. And kids are like,
I don't want to play.
Where's my? I mean, I gotta tell you, I don't know. I don't know that I've been disconnected like that. I think every year I make some ridiculous threat, like, this year in the vacation, I'm gonna spend a whole week or a whole 2 days without no devices.
Hey, man,
have you done that?
I'm a proponent of doing a technology fast at least once a year, or at least you go a day without using any technology.
Okay.
Phone, TV, internet, just a day. Let your mind breathe. Let your mind rest. Get some clarity.
Right.
I mean, I think it's important to do.
For me, like, the thing that happens with me is I can do the no TV and the no computer and I think what happens with me with the phones now, I get there's a certain amount of anxiety that is like a FOMO anxiety, but not like, just more so like, what if there's an emergency, or what if something's happening right now and I have no way to get it's an interesting feeling that, like, 'cause I grew up in an era where you couldn't reach you.
Exactly.
I grew up without pagers.
Exactly.
So that was just the way it was. You were gone, you came home and you got the message or whatever.
Exactly.
Like, or your mom was, I've been looking for you all day. Where you been?
Right.
So the idea of going back to that, to me, is terrifying. I'm not gonna lie, it's really scary. I'm gonna break myself.
So if you're on an island, you're vacationing, with your significant other, you're having a blast, you still want to be on your phone?
No, but I like the comfort of knowing that if someone needed to get to me, if there was an emergency, this is what I would need in my brain. I'd have to know that someone would come out to me, with a phone, Mr. Braswell on the beach, like they would do in the old days, like you see in the old movies, when someone's on the beach. A call from the mainland. I just need to know that I'm reachable because otherwise I just have this anxiety. So I can't even enjoy myself. Because I'm like, something right now, I'm turning my phone off, and that's when all hell's gonna break loose. Yeah. But I need to. I need to look at that.
Last note. I know we're running out of time. But last note for me about this is that I actually can tell the destructive elements of technology. For me personally, when I'm sitting in my editing bay and I'm editing all day, and I look up and I've been here for 8 hours nonstop, I feel a difference in my personality. I feel a difference in my energy. It's shifting something.
Yeah.
And it's not good. And you do that day after day after day after day, like you're fucking yourself up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like editors. I don't understand like that. That's just something I don't understand, the ability to be able to do that like as a full-time job. Like 8 hours is a joke. So usually like more like 10 to
10 and up, 10 and up,
10 to 20 hours. Like, so that's a lot. So I don't know. It's interesting. Last thing I'll say about that is it reminds me of the whole I use the Grand Theft Auto, the Grand Theft Auto thing, man. It it does rewire neural pathways in your brain, because I'll play Grand Theft Auto for a long time. I mean, like an hour, and I'll get in the car and I start whipping, like looking to like run over pedestrians and stuff. Like, I'm not kidding.
You have a problem.
No, but I've never heard people talk about this before. Like, you like
this guy has a problem.
You like start running through stoplights. You want to jump. It's really the way that especially the new GTA is. It's like, wow. Anyway, all right.
Rehab, brother. Rehab.
I need something, man. So let's move on to. I do want to talk about. I do want to talk a little bit about X-Men Apocalypse. I did get a chance to see it. Did you get a chance to see it at all?
I did.
You did? What did you think?
That was great. I went in there kind of like biased because I heard a lot of bad things about it. But I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I mean, not to give any spoilers, but I love the title sequence, which is one thing I've been studying a lot. I love this title sequence. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love the opening.
Yeah.
The opening was dope. How, the context of the whole movie. And when you juxtapose it to the Avengers and other Marvel movies, I like the ensemble of characters. Like, I think they're cool. I think they offer a different tone than say like the Avengers. It's more of a darker tone, which kind of like it resonates better. It resonates differently rather with me. So
I definitely think they've done a great job. Like Bryan Singer and Fox have done a great job in sort of like building this world, and I think Bryan Singer especially. I mean, he's done now 4 of the 9. Well, if you count two Wolverines, there's 9 movies, but like he's done 4 or 5 of these now, and I think he's done a great job with this. The issue that I'm having with this new X-Men series is, and look, starting with X-Men First Class, was that when they did a full reboot, to X-Men Days of Future Past, and now this one. These first 3 movies are like one big long origin story. Yeah, like they serve as one origin story for the new X-Men. It's like, so we talk about, like, people talk about how I don't want to see the same Spider-Man get rebooted. The Spider-Man 3 different movies. I don't want to see this in 3 different movies. For me, this is like 3 movies to get to an origin story. Like, we had 3 movies of the X-Men, and now we have 3 movies that are origin of the X-Men.
Yeah. Why is that problematic?
Well, it's actually it isn't because I feel like the first 2 it kind of lends itself to the way we consume episodic television. Yeah. So it's really like, oh, this is a continuing series, and there's a lot of stories to be told, and it's dense. The X-Men, there's a lot of motherfuckers in the X-Men, so it's a very dense thing. But the reason why it bothers me, by the time I got to this 3rd one, it just felt like the whole central storyline of Apocalypse and all that stuff is just a device to set up the rest of these origin stories.
I think it's an excellent device.
And that's a good argument to make. So I just sort of feel, I guess I found myself like, okay, get on with it. Like, let's get on to the 4th movie already. Like, I feel like I don't want to see another movie with more setup as to how the X-Men come together. I just want to get to it already. Let's get to them being the X-Men and fighting folks. I feel like finally this is it. I feel like we finally got to that point. But overall, but yeah, all the characters are great. Sophie Turner as Jean Grey was great.
Yep.
All the new versions, the new Storm, all those people were. I think, and that's,
I wasn't sold on Storm, but anyway, it's cool.
well, I was.
Halle Berry's way better.
I'm not sold on Halle Berry as Storm, except for the way she looks.
Okay.
Like that broke accent. Halle Berry's accent as Storm is not suspect at best, but she's so fine, you don't care.
Her accent, it was suspect as well.
Yeah, well,
It's terrible.
It was a terrible accent. but she,
Eat that.
I was like, no. But all the characters beasts. But what I was reminded about is what they do an excellent job, and we'll get out of here, is that, the X-Men is built around two extremely fine actors, and Ian McKellen and Sir Patrick Stewart, to Sir Ian McKellen and Sir Patrick Stewart as Xavier and Magneto, and the emotional core that they had in those first three movies, and like it really grounds the whole thing in realism, along with Hugh Jackman and everything else.
Absolutely.
So to be able to find the younger versions of those, they've done it, because I think James McElroy and Michael Fassbender are also excellent actors, and they really ground it in some realness, and all that back forward, like Charles, Eric, all that stuff is like, I believe it. And the sort of good in the debate, and they've set it up so where Magneto is not a bad dude. He just has a very strong difference of opinion, and so that's of the way mutants should be treated.
He's a tormented dude.
He's a tormented dude.
He's bad and good.
Exactly.
In a way, which makes him kind of human.
Yeah.
I
like the way that it makes me laugh, because
even though he's a mutant,
Magneto is the villain, and he is a villain. But even in these last three movies, Magneto has been the villain. But somehow he's like still ends up being homies with Charles. Like they just that was a crazy disagreement, Eric. I'll see you later. We almost killed each other.
They're
again.
kindred spirits.
Yeah.
So
I do like that dynamic. It's not like Eric's just evil, and Charles is just good. This is more complicated than that. I think that to have that at the core. And is
I like the backstory of how they're communicating what is making him become evil, because of all the torment he's had to go through, all the loss he's had to go through
at the hands of hands of people, who don't like people different from themselves, which is which has always been the undercurrent of the X-Men. And this also reminds me how progressive Kirby and Stan Lee were back in the 60s. They were always way more progressive than DC. So they're always doing stuff with, undertones about racial issues, and undertones about difference and women and equality, and all that stuff is built into all the whole mutants. All that stuff is built into all the Marvel stuff. Like even in the 70s, with Black Panther and Luke Cage, there's just an element of that stuff is built in, where DC was just like Superman and Batman. They weren't really touching that. So to see those characters last, and see that's why it's able to have those issues still translate in 2016,
because that's the world we live in.
Exactly, human issues, and I think that's a testament to something that is easier to tap into and get to. Whereas Superman, is he a god? Is he a man? Like that's it's hard to wrap your head around.
It's not as grounded.
Yeah. So anyway, that's it. I think that's it. That's all we got for now. I think that we're out of time. One last thing, Rogue One is doing some reshoots, so people seem to be a little jumpy and sketchy about that. I think it'll be fine. I'm not worried about it. I think Rogue One's gonna be fine. So we'll see. I don't know. That's it. Anything else you got?
Nah, man. I highly recommend you guys go see X-Men. It's pretty dope.
All right. I like it too. I like it. Yeah. I liked it too a lot. That's all we got. Where can the people find you?
People can find me on Instagram and Twitter at AkiliShine, AKILISHINE. And where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Joe K. Braswell, on Snapchat at JK Braz. I'm trying to work on my Snapchat game. I'm not sure I understand it completely, but I think I'm getting better at it. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for joining us in Geek Nerd Tech. We will see you all next week.
From executives Keven Undergaro, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us. info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I am the official voice of Black Hollywood Live, Scipio. Instagram me at KingXOBay. Thanks for tuning in.
Hollywood Redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.